Hi, I'm Danny. Today I'm going to explain a movie where a peaceful camping trip turns into a brutal nightmare. A military training mission hides a deadly secret, and a pack of savage werewolves hunts soldiers through the dark forests of Scotland. Let's dive into Dog Soldiers. In the midst of the cold forests of Scotland, a couple is camping and enjoying the tranquility of nature. The girl gives her boyfriend a massive silver dagger as a somewhat mysterious gift. At dawn, they both hear someone opening the tent. The girl is grabbed by a monstrous hand and begins to be violently shaken until she is half devoured by the creature. The young man tries to reach the silver dagger, but is quickly attacked as well. 2 hours before this violent event in North Wales, a man tries to escape through the dense fog of the forest from a squad of British soldiers. He takes down some combatants, but is soon subdued by the rest of the squad. Then we discover that this was a skills test. The man is a soldier named Cooper, and according to his superior, his score was excellent. However, he receives a terrible order from the captain, where he must cold-bloodedly shoot the squad's own dog. The young man is perplexed at how this could be a test. Obviously, he refuses to carry out this atrocity. The captain then says that the soldier failed and shoots the dog in the head himself. Cooper is furious and attacks the captain, but ends up being overpowered and thrown to the ground. The other soldiers are ordered to replace Soldier Cooper. Now we move forward 4 weeks to the Scottish Highlands. A team of British Army soldiers disembarks from a helicopter in the middle of the forest for a simulated enemy line invasion exercise. After a few hours of walking along the river, the soldiers take a break. Cooper, the soldier from before who was now part of the squad, comments with his comrades about the attack on the couple a few weeks ago. Their bodies disappeared and the tent and personal belongings were scratched and covered in blood. According to him, several sinister cases like this happen in this region. Despite this, the training mission must continue, and the combatants advance further into the forest until nightfall. A new camp is set up so they can rest illuminated only by the flames of the campfire, while Sergeant Harry tells stories of his most terrible missions. A dead cow is thrown by something and falls on the campfire, splashing blood everywhere. The soldiers panic, shooting at the dead animal, but soon calm down with the sergeant's orders. They assess the condition of the animal's body, and it seems the wounds are bite marks. Despite everyone's concern, the sergeant won't radio in the middle of the night because of a cow. So he decides they will take turns on guard until dawn. At dawn, the sergeant and his team follow the trail left by the thrown cow. Along the way, they continue to find blood and remains of the animal in the distance. The team spots a flare in the sky from a member who advanced to scout when they arrive. They understand why he signaled for help. There are intestines and pieces of human parts everywhere. And the most intriguing thing is that the weapons and ammunition are intact. Then the captain appears behind the crates, even more out of his mind. Ryan has huge claw marks on his chest, and despite his hatred for him, Cooper still strives to help him. Bruce tries to call for immediate air support on the radio, but can't get a signal, and to make matters worse, Ryan's team's radio is broken apparently. Ryan's Special Forces squad was there on a secret mission to take down a monster. He was observing the surroundings with his night vision binoculars, suspecting he was being followed. Suddenly, he and his squad were surprised by the creature. As it was already getting dark, they decide to set up a new camp. The sergeant says the simulation is over, and now the survival mission is real. Everyone removes the yellow tips from their weapons and loads ammunition. Ryan warns them that it won't do any good if they want to survive. They must run before the monsters catch up and tear their bodies apart. At that moment, the team hears a terrifying scream echoing through the forest. The sergeant orders them to form lines of 3 to retreat. Part of the team will cover the rear, and the rest will follow the sergeant to the pasture. Bruce returns alone and stands guard amid the sound of the wind cutting through the trees. He sees something running between the trees, tries to shoot several times, but his weapon is jammed. The ammunition is stuck in the magazine. Bruce runs in desperation as the creature is on his heels. He runs at full speed through the dense forest and ends up being pierced in the chest by a sharp tree branch like a spear, and then something finishes him off and takes him away. Sergeant Harry is investigating the area alone and realizes there is something around him. When Harry finds the scattered blood, a werewolf leaps at him. He shoots the creature multiple times and manages to hit it, but is soon struck by the claws of another monster, slashing his belly and exposing all his holes. Cooper appears at the same moment and manages to hit some werewolves. The sergeant screams in terrible pain from his wound. while the soldier does what he can to stop the immense bleeding. They run into the middle of the forest, Cooper firing his rifle in an attempt to scare off the werewolves following them. The team regroups and continues to retreat, the soldiers firing with all the weapons they have, trying to hit the werewolves, which are extremely fast and silent. The soldiers see the headlights of a vehicle approaching in the distance on the road and realize that this would be their only way to escape. One of the soldiers jumps into the middle of the road to stop the vehicle. The soldiers begin to enter the woman's car, but when she tries to start the vehicle and leave, the wheel seems to be stuck. The werewolves surround them from the outside and manage to pierce the roof, one of them thrusting its horrible arm inside, trying to tear pieces off the soldiers. The soldiers fight back with stabs to the monster's arm. The woman finally manages to start the car, and they leave the wolves behind. At least for now, the woman named Megan says there is only one farm in that valley, and the owners are her friends, so they can go there. They arrive at the location under heavy fog and no one answers the door. Cooper enters with another soldier to investigate the house, and everything seems normal. The dining table is set. The stove is on with soup being prepared. Cooper hears a strange movement behind a door, and when he opens it, a dog scares him. Fortunately, the animal, named Sam, is docile and even greets the soldier. The residents really weren't there, so everyone enters and begins to organize. Cooper takes the lead, since the sergeant is seriously injured and screaming in pain. The woman says there is no phone in the cabin and the nearest town is 4 hours away, so Cooper decides they should take the car and go there to seek help. He goes out with Spoon to the area where the car was parked, and when they light the flare, they see the vehicle completely destroyed. Werewolves are everywhere. Cooper orders Spoon to stay calm and not shoot on his signal. The two run inside the house, and due to the shots hitting the car's fuel, it is destroyed. The werewolves try to push the door, thrusting their arms through the opening, but with great difficulty, Cooper manages to close it and thrusts his gun through the small opening in the door, shooting everything outside. The dog violently pulls the sergeant's bandages. Of course, Captain Ryan would have already shot the poor dog, but Soldier Terry vomits on his head in the panic, saving the poor dog's life. Cooper needs to calm everyone down, especially the captain. He has great leadership skills and orders Terry to boil water in several pots so they have something to drink. They place wood on the windows and cabinets blocking the doors. The werewolves still surround the house, running between the trees, and even though the soldiers fire bursts of bullets, it doesn't drive them away from the perimeter. They collect any weapons that might be useful, from medieval swords to a kitchen chainsaw. With Megan's help, Cooper goes to seal the sergeant's wound. They then take him upstairs in the cabin and start applying some kind of glue to the cuts in his abdomen, which makes Harry scream in pain. Everyone is distressed. Hearing that terrible sound of suffering, the sergeant asks Cooper to knock him up by hitting his head because the pain is terrible. So the soldier hits the poor guy on the head with a punch and knocks him out so they can finish the job. Cooper is reluctant to believe the creatures are werewolves, but Megan says she has been investigating these monsters for 2 years, and before the night is over, he will believe. 2, she tells all the soldiers they are facing lycanthropes, a horde of werewolves that come out to hunt on the full moon. Cooper decides to interrogate Captain Ryan, questioning what his unit was doing in that place. And the captain is completely reluctant to say. However, it's very strange that they find him all injured and weak, and shortly before entering the house, he was running. Cooper wants to remove the bandages and see his wounds. Ryan pulls a gun on him, but Megan hits him with a splendid frying pan, and man, to disarm him in style. When they removed the bandages, everything was healed. In other words, there is something strange going on with the captain at that moment. All the power is cut off in the house because the werewolves destroyed the generators. According to Ryan, they can see in the dark, and this will be the soldiers. Fear, Cooper orders everyone to calm down. Megan will keep an eye on Ryan because he is certainly a threat. Spoon notices that the handle of the back door is moving, and another werewolf starts banging on the front door. They are everywhere. He locks the door again, but the windows are more vulnerable. The werewolves start breaking them and force the soldiers to fire several shots using all the firepower. They have Spoon can't reload his weapon and is holding the door as best as he can. Cooper grabs hot water from the stove and throws it in the werewolf's face. Joe advances joyfully, firing his shotgun until the werewolf forcibly rips it from him. He then throws a grenade out the window, preventing the monster from entering. To get him, Spoon tries to drag a cabinet to lock the door. When from outside to inside, he gets punched by the creature, almost being crushed by a gas cylinder. Joe is captured by the window locks and screams for Cooper to help him. That's when the Templar sword comes into action and Cooper cuts off the werewolf's hand all at once. The creatures don't give up trying to open the doors through every crack they find. It's when the first werewolf manages to perform this feat upstairs, the dark monster slowly enters through the window in the east room. Cooper runs to warn him but is grabbed by the feet by one of the creatures. He keeps yelling for Harry to wake up and throws a flare, stunning. The werewolf Cooper manages to break free, and the sergeant wakes up at the same time. The two together shoot the demonic thing, throwing the werewolf out the window when it seemed that the first wave of attack had ceased. Terry mocks the creature's ability and is violently pulled out the window. Megan sees the soldier being taken by the entire horde. They put the wooden locks back on the window, ensuring at least some temporary security. There are still 6 hours until dawn, and until then, they need to find a way to survive. After all, the ammunition is almost gone. Megan watches through the window, the werewolves still waiting for the right moment for the next wave of attack. She asks if anyone knows how to hotwire cars. There is one parked in the barn, but she doesn't have the keys. Joe volunteers for the mission, but first they need to create a distraction strategy for the werewolves. So they go to the second floor, and Spoon goes down first with a rope, as he will be the target of the distraction. He keeps shouting near the forest, lighting a flare when the werewolf starts chasing him. This is Joe's chance to run safely to the barn. Spoon climbs the rope and gets back inside the house. However, the satanic creature pulls the rope they use to descend and tries to enter through the window. Spoon starts to saw the rope with his knife, while Megan fires the camera flash to stun the werewolf, and they manage to knock the monster down. Joe finally manages to start the vehicle, but he sees the worst scene of his life. The werewolf feeding on Terry while he is still alive. The creature rips the young man's head off and throws it on the windshield. The soldier fights with the creature that tries to open the Jeep's door, ends up hitting the creature hard, and leaves it full speed, breaking the barn door. But when he stops the car, he realizes that the creature was in the back seat and goes after him with the knife. Joel ends up being destroyed by the werewolf. When the rest of the team tries to get into the vehicle, they find the werewolf wolf brutally devouring Joe. Megan fires her pistol, forcing the creature to stay outside, giving Sergeant Harry time to close the door again. Everything seems lost after all. Cooper checks the Jeep one last time, and it was all destroyed by the werewolves this time. He gives Ryan one last chance, threatening him to say what he knows about the creatures. The captain arrogantly informs that Sergeant Harry's unit was a bait ready for slaughter. He knew Cooper would find the werewolves and everyone would be exterminated. Therefore, the captain would not risk his own skin to find them. The sergeant gets furious and punches the man's face as soon as they lift him. They notice that his eyes are yellow like a wolf's. Ryan is transforming with fangs and claws already revealing. Then quickly, Ryan transforms completely. A combination of attacks is needed. Megan uses the camera flash. The sergeant hits him with the hot wooden log. Cooper buries the sword deep in his back, and Spoon unloads his gun all over the room, forcing the captain to flee through the window. Once again, the wave of attack is interrupted. The woods are nailed again, and the nightmare of dawn seems endless. Now it makes sense why the house is empty, because the family in the photo are all werewolves. The soldiers are in their house, and they didn't like it at all. Megan concludes that the behavior of the werewolves is similar to that of a pack, and they are gathered in one place with food protection and away from the cold. They deduce that if they are not inside the house, the only place left is the bee barn. This is where Cooper's plan to blow everything up using the gas cylinder comes into play. Megan leaves Sam locked in a kitchen cupboard to spare him from any danger. Sergeant Harry wants to stay behind and provide cover for everyone to escape. He shows his stomach to Cooper, and to his surprise, the wounds are completely healed. He already knows that, like the captain, he has been contaminated and will soon turn into a werewolf, but Cooper will not leave him alone. The two are friends and honorable fighters, and so the sergeant will at least join in this last mission. Spoon then pierces the fuel tank of the Jeep. They load the cylinder into the vehicle, and Cooper drives for a few meters and jumps out just before reaching the barn. With the car already inside, Spoon tries to light the match to activate the gasoline trail left by the Jeep, but he cannot. Then Harry arrives with a flaming Molotov cocktail and throws it at the trail. The fire reaches the barn and sends the Jeep with everything inside flying. However, upon returning to the house, they discover something intriguing. Megan says she is also part of the werewolf family. She tried to join the soldiers to escape this life, but everything went wrong, and now her instincts are screaming in her head, being stronger than her will to protect the squad. The werewolves were not in the barn because she let them into the house. She begins her transformation. Harry then shoots her right in the head. Spoon tries to follow his companions up the stairs but is stopped by the claws of one of the werewolves. His only way out is to lock himself in the kitchen, but without ammunition he prepares to fight the creatures, hand to hand. The huge werewolf then destroys the door, and a fierce fight begins. He throws some punches, grabs a knife from the table, and stabs the monster in the back while being thrown to the ground. He still manages to tear out a fang from the creature. With a kick, Spoon is enraged and starts stabbing the creature's chest with the knife, spilling blood everywhere. But the monster remains firm and strong. The soldier decides to throw plates and bottles in desperation. And of course it did not work very well. Soon he is grabbed by the neck, shredded and devoured by two werewolves. The dog that was there in his corner bravely growls while facing one of the fierce werewolves. Cooper and Harry are escaping upstairs. The soldier throws a grenade but only manages to destroy the stairs. The two werewolves still pursue them. They lock themselves in the bathroom. The sergeant improvises a flamethrower with an aerosol and a lighter, shooting fire at the werewolf's snout. Cooper does the most insane thing possible. He drives a sink nail into the beast's head. The sergeant continues to shoot flames into the door hole, and Cooper uses his bayonet to cut a hole in the wall and escape. The two manage to cross to the other side and block the hole with some suitcases and a bookshelf. But there is also a werewolf trying to enter through the bedroom door. They decide to hide inside the closet, and upon noticing the horrible smell, they find the skeletons of the victims killed by the family. The sergeant shoots the floor and opens a space for both of them to descend to the room below. They find a secret door, but Harry will not run anymore. He says Cooper needs to survive to tell everyone it was real, and hands him the film from the camera as proof. Cooper descends with Sam, and the sergeant begins his inevitable transformation. He cuts the gas hose from the stove, and when the pack of werewolves approaches, he activates the stove lighter and blows everything up, killing all the beasts with him. Meanwhile, Cooper was in the werewolf's body stock with various items hanging around like a human refrigerator, but there was still one werewolf alive, ex-Captain Ryan, with the sword still stuck in his chest. He attacks Cooper with several punches to the face and begins to drive the sword from his chest into Cooper's mouth. Sam jumps on the werewolf and pushes the demon away from his friend Cooper. The soldier finds a silver dagger, the same one we saw with the victims at the beginning, and quickly stabs it into the monster's chest. The creature is stunned by the silver, unable to attack Cooper anymore, but he fires the final shot, putting an end to the creature by dawn soldier. Cooper and his faithful canine friend Sam were the only survivors of this terrible event. Cooper revealed to the world the terror they faced, saying a phrase that summed it all up: "Werewolves ate my platoon."